So, a lot of people are getting laid off, as we see in the headlines, due to multiple reasons, right? So, whether a corporation is bringing in new technology, and that is one of the causes why people are getting laid off, or there's other reasons. But I want to tell you that I was laid off in 2024, right before I opened the doors to the studio. And it has not been an easy journey because when you have worked really hard in your industry, in a corporation, and you've built yourself up, sometimes the layoff can really hurt your feelings, to say the least. And I say this because you're building a lifestyle. You're building how you want to live, and having a 9 to 5 or whatever the hours may be is you're doing the work and you're making the money to align with that hard work that you're putting in and that growth that you're putting in as an individual. So it's not always easy. And I can only tell you my story, but I do want to go over some tips of things that I've either learned over this time or no. But I do want to give some tips of things that I've learned and experienced over this time that may be helpful for the person that still has their job, but might be a little concerned. So there's a couple of things that you can put into place that should you get laid off, they could help you. And if you don't get laid off, power to you, all the power to you, because that's not necessarily what we want. But I do want to share this with you because I think it can be helpful. And I want to say that I was actually laid off right before I opened the doors. So I was laid off in 2024. I received a text saying, oh my goodness, it was like at 8:45 a.m. And it was saying, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry you got laid off yesterday. And I was like, girl, what are you talking about? I called in sick yesterday. Didn't you see it on Slack? Like, what are you talking about? But that was basically my indication that my 9 o'clock meeting that was set with my manager, I was about to be laid off. So I kind of got the heads up before it came to pass. And I did a couple of things. So the first couple of things I did was I called in sick again. As I found out that I was about to get laid off at in 15 minutes, I called in sick again. And I actually proceeded to do this for the next 4 days or something. I called in sick every single day because one, the behavior was quite different. I had not typically had 9 a.m. meetings. I also had a team. So I found out that other people got laid off. But I had no clue. I was actually calling in sick because I was in here working on the studio. But during that time, I reached out for legal support. Now, this is actually not on my list, but it doesn't help. It doesn't hurt to share this part as well. I reached out for legal advice right away. Sorry, you never accept the very first offer that is given to you. I reached out to legal and tried to understand what could be my options. If you don't know where to start with legal support, you can just Google it. But I actually reached out to other colleagues and other senior management, from my past, to say, hey, do you have a lawyer that I can speak to? I'm about to get laid off and I need to know what my options are so I don't just take whatever they give me. Do I even have options? That was really my concern. And what can I do? So that's not on my list of things, but yes, reach out for legal support. You can also just speak to other people that may have been laid off and they can tell you what they did and you can figure out what's best for you. So let's go through my 7 tips or just suggestions on what you can do prior to getting laid off. If you think that it might come up. 1, get credit card insurance. Okay. It sounds so silly. If you already have it, bonus, you're living great. You have your responsibilities on, check mark for you, gold star, all the things. I actually remembered to get credit card insurance. I don't even actually remember getting it. Opting into credit card insurance on my biggest credit card and not opting into credit card insurance on my smallest credit card. And I had another one and I don't think I opted into that one either. But my largest one I did, and I don't even know why I did and I didn't, right? But the credit card insurance is a lifesaver If you get laid off and it takes time for you to get hired again somewhere else, or you trying to figure out your life, but if it takes time for you to get hired again and all of a sudden you find yourself in a position where you're not able to pay the minimum balance and you have an outstanding balance that you're working with, or you're utilizing your credit card insurance will pay your monthly balance. So get credit card insurance maintenant, right now, if you do not have it on all your credit cards. If you do have it, air high five to you for being an adult. Some people think, oh, why do I need to get insurance? I won't need it. It comes in handy and it can be a lifesaver, and you can still use your credit card and they will pay the minimum balance. So especially if you have like a high balance, you don't have to worry about that. The last thing you want to do is lose your credit card if you lose your job, right? And I can tell you from experience, and this is probably why I did get it. The first time I was laid off, I didn't have credit card insurance on a credit card. And I remember calling the credit card company and asking if I can lower my payments and pay a lower amount. And they said no. And that is not true. Now, I am not a financial advisor of any sorts, but that's not true. You can, as long as you're constantly paying them, that goes towards ensuring that you still have like good credit, or you're trying to maintain your great credit or whatever your credit standing is at. But the credit card insurance will also help you. Also, my next tip is here, and I was just thinking about it, is reduce your monthly credit card payments. So if you do lose your job and you have less income coming in, and you have like a hefty credit card because you were making bank before, you can speak with a credit card company and they will reduce the amount that you can pay. Like they have different programs that they can even enroll you into while your insurance is paying for it, and then you don't have to pay the full amount, like they'll reduce that amount. So they want you to keep your credit card. And if you get someone that says that you cannot do that, ask to speak to somebody else, or like go into chat or go into whatever AI and just Google it and look up how you can get it done. Because I tried to do that the first time I got laid off. I think the first time I got laid off was like in 2016 or something like that, around that time frame. And the credit card company at that time said that like that was not an option. Come to find out, it's an option, and I was able to utilize it this time around when I got laid off in 2024, as well as utilize my credit card insurance. And when you have credit card insurance, I'll just go back to number one for a minute there. They will pay for a certain amount of time, an extended period of time. So if you can still afford to pay off your minimum balance, then do that. And then you can find out, well, how many months will they cover? Will they cover 18 months? Will they cover more than 18 months? Will they cover 12 months? I don't know what the criteria is for the time of how much time they will pay, or the insurance will be applied to your minimum balance. But that's the type of information you want to find out, even just when you're turning on your credit card insurance. So those are two great tips. Get insurance, and then if you get to a point where you cannot afford it and the insurance is paying for it, or even prior to, you can actually reduce your monthly payment. So find out what those options are with your credit card. That's tip 1 and tip 2. Tip 3, this one should be obvious, but it's not. And if you've developed a bad habit like I have, it might not be that easy to do. Delete Uber and Skip. Break up with them. You don't need them in your life unless you're planning to become a driver on the side. And no shade there, because I've done that once upon a time. That's another story, because how I stopped driving Uber is I had a really scary experience. So I stopped from that. But because I developed this terrible habit of constantly ordering from Uber, not really Skip, just really Uber, you need to break up with them. It's just money being wasted, and you want to get into that kitchen and start cooking for yourself. And if you cannot cook, well, go check out my other video, because I have 5 healthy tips on if you lose your job. But from a financial standpoint, Get rid of those food delivery services unless you're becoming a driver. That's the only reason you should have it on your phone. I know convenience, when you have convenience and you have expendable cash and you can afford to do those things, it's great. But nowadays, groceries are expensive. So it sounds so obvious, but it's very easy to stay in that bad habit of ordering, even though your cash situation, your income looks different. And it took me a while because, I had this great severance. So you think when you have this great severance, nothing changes, but honey, that's not true. So delete it. And I'll be honest with you, I only recently deleted it this week. And I've been laid off for like 2 years. But I did cut back on ordering, and it took me time before I cut back on ordering. Even sometimes I would like justify ordering because with the cost of groceries, I could basically order a two can dine for like $20, and it's no different from me like grabbing chicken or fish and cooking from the grocery store. And that might be the case sometimes, but most times you're probably ordering something your body doesn't need. So my suggestion, my reco is going to be delete those apps unless you're going to become a driver on the side. Okay. This one I should have started at the top. So this one is in the case that you do get laid off. If you do get laid off, negotiate. Do not take everything that they offer you right from the beginning. I don't know how long you've worked at your the place that you worked. And I understand that if you work there for a shorter period of time, you don't really have too much room to negotiate, but it doesn't hurt to negotiate regardless. So you want to negotiate the amount of time that they're paying you for, because when it comes to severance, at least in Canada, I don't know what it's like in the US, you will get a lump sum based on the amount of years that you worked at a place. And also, like, pass all of this by legal, because this is not legal advice. This is just advice from me, someone who has been laid off before. Okay. All of that aside. So try to understand how many weeks they're offering. Most places will offer you more. It might be just a few days more. Because I think you're supposed to get like, I don't know how it is. I think it's like, what was it? It's like a week for every year or something like that. So they might offer you more weeks than years. But negotiate. Try to get as many as you can, because then that means you're getting paid more, right? And then negotiate the severance. So you're getting this lump sum of money, negotiate that severance. Oh, I just thought about something else, but we'll stay on negotiation for a minute. Negotiate your healthcare, your dental, and any other benefits that you get. So if they say they're going to pay you for the next 5 weeks or something like that, they're going to pay you 5 weeks, and you're going to get 5 weeks of healthcare and dental care, you can negotiate, or I think like more than 5 weeks, but you can negotiate that healthcare and that dental care for like months. So, and make sure everything is in writing. None of this is through a phone call. I don't think you're texting your employer, but this should all be in writing, in email, so that if something goes wrong and your services get cut early, you can go back to the insurance company that you're paying in and say you have it in writing. And it should be on letterhead as well from the corporation. So negotiate that dental care. You might as well get your teeth cleaned while you are trying to figure out your next steps in your journey, and your health care, so that you can go and get any prescriptions filled that you need, and then maybe even talk about when you're at your doctor's getting refills on file. Like, so, okay, I have eczema, for example. So I might need, like, I call it medicine cream, but like, anyways, I might get like this one medicine cream, but like give me like 3 refills on that. And because me and my doctor are locked in, he'll be like, alrighty, hopefully. And so that way you can get the medication or the prescriptions that you typically need. If you're in Canada, there's other options that you can do when it comes to dental care, but also glasses. I actually wear glasses. when I'm on the computer, which I never wear. But also, if you can get that in advance, like you can negotiate. Um, I think right now in Canada, you get your eyes checked like every 2 years or something. At least that's what it used to be. I haven't checked my eyes in a while. But just get the healthcare, the dental care, the eye care, and any other services. So here's one I didn't think about, but I do think people should try to leverage it. And if you have services where you're using it to pay for therapy, then extend that because you might not, if you're not currently going to therapy, you might not see the need for it right away. But if it takes time to get another job, you might want to speak to somebody, and your friends and family are not your therapist. So if you can get those services extended, find out what your options are, and then also call those service providers. So call your therapist and find out, like, okay, my insurance is ending here. When is the latest time that I can book with you? And then if it's the type of insurance where you pay up front and you get reimbursed, or they take it off the top and you only pay the balance, like understand those technicalities, I'm going to say, so that you have the money to pay for it, but also you can put it in for when you need it. So you might not need it right away because you're sitting on this hill of money, as I like to say, when you have a severance. But maybe you need it 6 months down the road when things are getting a little tougher, and maybe you haven't gotten too many responses on jobs. So see when you can utilize those services. And I'm specifically talking about therapy here because when you get laid off, I think now more than ever, I don't know about before. So before, when I got laid off, it actually took me 8 months to find another job. And I was in e-commerce at the time, and I was applying like crazy and all the things, like I had just moved into a new development and I was renting. But I had moved out of like a condo and I moved into a brand new house. And honestly, I was probably only in that house for like 6 months. And so I felt terrible because I was having a hard time paying the owner and I had to move out, and all the things happened, right? Moved in with friends, moved out from there. I actually even went into a shelter at one point, like all the things. And it took me time to find another job. And actually, the shelter wasn't really a shelter, it was like a hotel, but because I just couldn't, not that I couldn't, but they couldn't put me into a shelter with kids at a certain age, right? So whatever. But what I wanted to say is when I was in the hotel, I actually had a job. I got a job. So I got the new job, but couldn't find a place to live. And every time I would go and visit a place to like look at, to move into, other people, like I would see the same people. We were all looking for a place to live. So there could be tons of obstacles that you have to go through, even once you do find a job, if you were unemployed for an extended period of time, right? So you might end up moving, you might find yourself in a different situation, and then you get a job and now you got to look for a place to live. At least that was my scenario. I think that was back in 2016. So getting distracted with my phone. So, yeah, that's that. Negotiate and understand the timelines of when you can apply the services and when things are due financially, and just understand the dynamics and write everything down, get everything in writing so you can be organized. So if you do not utilize some of your services right away, at least you know when you can utilize it, especially if you have a family, and you go to get your teeth cleaned twice a year, the top of the year, the end of the year. That's kind of how I would do it, like every 6 months. So organize that, organize your prescriptions, organize your eyewear so that you can see, and then therapy because you want to take care of your mental health. Okay. One quick thing that I forgot to mention is one, I'm not a financial advisor. So reach out to whoever is advising you on your finances because you could use their help. And then two, if you know you're about to get, sorry, if you know you're about to get this huge severance, then see what your options are. Because one thing you can do is you can take a lump sum and put it into your RRSPs if you haven't hit your max for the year. One, you need to touch base with the investment company that you do investments with to see if you've reached your max. I mean, you might know, but like if you haven't, then that's a great opportunity to avoid being taxed on a huge lump sum of severance money. So, this is for someone who is making a lot of income and you just got laid off. Um, and you know you're going to get this huge lump sum of money, you don't want it to get taxed in half and you just lost like 50% of it to like taxes. But you could put it into your RRSPs. So check with your the company that you invest with. You might be investing with a company that's like with your employer. Um, and then you have to put in that request before they issue you the money because they're going to tax it. And yes, you can put the balance into RRSPs, but if you put in the request in the midst of your negotiation, so before the negotiations are done, okay, we're getting 5 weeks and then we've negotiated 2 additional weeks and all the other things. I want the money to go into my RRSPs, the maximum. And so they'll let you know what that percentage is. You'll confirm it with the company that you invest with. And so, you can speak to a financial advisor, but like, why wait for it to get taxed? So let's say you were getting $50,000 back. Why wait for the $50,000 to be taxed? And now, depending on the income bracket that you're in and whatever $50,000 is going to be taxed at, then I'm just going to use like whole numbers. And let's say you got taxed like 50%, 40%. Then you're going to take that balance and then put it in your RRSPs or put it in other investments when you can take the entirety, the 50,000, and put that into your RRSPs and you were not taxed on it. And then if you have other other investment opportunities, let me say that again. And then if you have other investment opportunities, you can make smart movements because maybe you won't use the entirety, but let's say you want to take a portion of that 20%, 20,000 and then put towards a house or put towards renovations or whatever the situation is. You can do that, but it gives you more options. So I'm not a financial advisor, but this is one thing that I was able to do is like during negotiations, I recognize that I don't want all this money to be taxed. I don't want to receive this huge lump sum and then half of it is gone towards taxes. No, put it in my RRSPs and then I will only utilize what I need to use. That's it. All right. Okay. On to the next one. Okay. So that takes me to something that I learned about last year, which was somatic breathing. And that was to relax my nervous system. So at one point, I just felt like, oh my goodness, everything's on fire. Even though like we're making money in the business, it couldn't compare to like what I was making in corporate, right? So especially if you're making over 6 figures or well over 6 figures and you're building a business, it's going to take time. Or for some people, it just pops. So all I know is I needed something to relax my nervous system. And because I have seen so many people, whether I know or don't know, get sick, I understand that stress can contribute to getting sick, right? And so I don't want that on myself. In order for me to calm my nervous system, I needed to find something. And just so happened on TikTok, somatic breathing was one thing that came up on my timeline. And it was like guided somatic breathing. So I noticed during those guided sessions, and it was like quick guided sessions because like I'm just scrolling. And I would come up to this lady, what's her name? I think like her name is, I want to say Amy, but I could be wrong. And she would just be like, take a deep breath in. And so I'm all of a sudden going, okay, hold it. And then she would count us down and then she would let go. And then she would take us through like this guided session of like 60 seconds of somatic breathing. And I noticed the instant change in how I felt more calm. So then I started like deep diving into somatic breathing. and I notice how it calms me. So that might work for some people and it might not work for others. So one of the things you want to kind of think about is like, what is going to relax you? What is going to center you? Somatic breathing is great, but I also like go to the lake, or for other people, they might journal, or you might pray, or you might meditate, or you might do everything, right? So do the things. But even if you start with something that, um, something like actionable. So yes, you're praying, but maybe you also need to exercise to bring you back down as well, right? So I'm saying find your mix and execute your mix and get into it before you find yourself in a situation. Like, you can apply all of those things prior to, but it's different when your finances, because your finances impact your livelihood and how you're living, especially if you are one person, right? So if you have a family and you might have another partner, then it might be great. You can rely on your partner, you can lean on your partner, you guys can work things through together. If you're one person, then it might look different for you. Or if you're a single person with dependents, it might look different for you. And that could be a single mom, or that can be a single person with pets. And the expenses are obviously going to be different. I don't have pets, but I definitely have kids. But I also have adult kids, but I still have responsibilities. So all the things, you got to figure out what's going to work for you. And if you can find a way to relax your nervous system, and calm yourself and center yourself, and then get to like a level, I want to say like a level minded or something like that, like reset, so that you can actually think clearly. Because sometimes when you go through tough times, you can feel like panicked, especially if it's at the expense of like how you live or how you've been accustomed to living. Okay, and then next on that is, this one's a small one, and then it's funny because what I just said, I can segue into something else, but this is a small one. This is a small one. Subscriptions and services that you can cut back on. Delete them, get rid of them. Take a look at what you're not using. Even if you used it once in the last 6 months, do you really need it? Can you go on the freemium? Where can you save $20? Where can you save $40? Where can you save $100, right? What do you need? If you have a subscription and it has multiple services in there, how many of those services are you actually using? And if you were to cut back down to the lower tier, could you still get the benefits out of that service, right? Um, yeah. So for me, I had all the things, all the subscriptions in the world. I have them. All the subscriptions. I could pay them. I could pay for it. I have all the subscriptions. I have Prime. I have okay, so I have Amazon Prime, which I think is still Prime for. I have Amazon Prime, and then I also have like Prime TV, and then Netflix, and then in Amazon Prime TV, there's like everything else. Are you paying for Paramount? Are you paying for whatever all those subscriptions are? And then I have like tons of digital subscriptions. So what are the subscriptions that you're using? Like if you use Canva, for example, are you on Canva Pro, or can you go back down to just like regular Canva? Do you have Canva? I think they just changed their model, because they used to have like Canva Pro, and then if you added a team member, then it costs more, but I believe they changed it. So if you're on Pro, you're on Pro, and that's it. But just identify from those subscriptions, because they're cheap. Even Uber One. So that's why I'm saying delete Uber, because if you have Uber One, I was paying for Uber One. I have Uber. So now I'm paying Uber. I'm paying Uber One just so I can get an extra discount. And I think over the last few months, I come to find out that like what people see in their Uber, other people don't necessarily see. So it might actually be personalized to the user and their spending habits, which makes sense. I'm in digital, I should know this. But I wasn't thinking about it until one day I didn't want to order something. And it's like I wanted to order something, but I didn't want to pay for it. So I said to my son, can you order it? Like, I'll just send you the money. And can you order it? Or maybe I don't know what the situation was, the why. But he didn't have the offer that I had. And that's when I was like, oh, yeah, of course, they're personalizing it to the user and the user's behavior. And I'm the big spender. So I'm getting the deeper discounts because I'm not getting the deeper discounts because they know they're going to get more money out of me. So give me the deeper discounts on these things because based on my spending habits, I'm gonna spend more money. I should have shares. I should like own half of Uber at this point. All right. Yeah. And okay. And lastly, I don't even know what number that is. That was supposed to be number 6. And so lastly, this is the most important one. And this is probably the hardest one. And this one will take time. At least it took time for me. And not everyone's the same because I recently spoke to an old senior director that I used to work for. And he just has a different mindset, different experience. And I mean, he was making way more than me, but he was also in a different position. So understand that your identity is not tied to how much income you are making. And that is the hardest one because you work so hard to build yourself up to get where you were. And it's not negating the value of what you learned and the value of how much you grew as you grew in your profession, as you grew as an individual, as you grew in leadership, as you grew as a team member, um, the goals that you attained to reach and you reached, you sustained, you surpassed. All of those things are like gooped up in your identity. And then it's like, what am I doing? Especially if at least this has been my experience, especially if it like took time for you to like find another job, or if you're building a business and now you find yourself second guessing yourself, whereas you just built yourself up over here and you didn't have that self-doubt anymore. Or it took time for you to believe in yourself and do all the things you were doing and speak with conviction and execute a certain way. And now you find yourself in a different space and you seem to perform like a different person. This could have been a whole separate video. And maybe I'll make identity a whole separate video, but like, just understand that just because you're no longer in a particular position doing the things that maybe you loved, because I actually loved my job and I love being a business owner as well. And I prayed for this, worked for this. I believe that everything kind of prepared me for this, but it doesn't mean that my mindset met the achievement of being here. And it's because I just worked so hard to be there. And there was other things like I worked so hard to be there, but there was other things that, let's say, I wasn't happy with, right? In not necessarily the role, but maybe where I was, maybe the opportunities that were not being presented in front of me, maybe where I would see that there were blockers to my growth as a person in that corporate environment. But I can also see the benefits as am no longer in that space of the growth of how much growth how much I grew being in that space, right? So it's really hard to like kind of separate that because it is a part of you. And even with the changes of like new technology being brought into the space, you kind of second guess, like, why is it taking me so long? Like, I remember I was speaking to one of my old employees that I hired, and I told her, like, even though I have this business, I didn't expect to be a full-time business owner right away. My plan was actually to keep working, and once I made a certain amount of money, then I would quit. And so at one point I was like, all right, well, maybe I'll just find another job. It'll be remote, and I can still work at the studio, and I can hire somebody. And you know what? I was applying to jobs and wasn't getting anything. And I have been in senior management. I had a team underneath me. I was in payments. So I feel like I can do anything. But yet I wasn't getting any bites. So, and also I was making a lot of money. So, like for me. And so it just felt like, what's going on with me? So I'm questioning who I am. I'm questioning what I want. I'm questioning where I want to be, what I want to do. Wait, am I doing the right thing? I even have a video that I haven't released yet that says like, am I ashamed of being an entrepreneur? And I'll release it in a couple of months. It's literally just sitting in the back end of it's already edited, uploaded in YouTube, just sitting in the back there. But you might question you. You might question your value, worth, what you're doing. I'm going to say this. Before you were laid off, or if you were laid off and you started working in AI, start writing those things down and updating your resume to show those applicable transitional skills, right? And then if you're doing anything on the side, that does not take away from what you can do. And roles might be, there might be roles that are being replaced with AI. So you might actually find yourself in a different position. So don't find yourself hostage to one type of role. Like I have been in product for over 10 years, right? And actually, I think that of all my roles within my 20-year career, I probably enjoyed product the most because it's constantly changing. But if I need to apply to something now, yeah, first I'm going to apply to like a director role. I'm going to apply to senior management role or principal product manager or anything on that senior level. But it also depends on how much responsibility I want. And then because I know how much money I want. But also I could look at, well, what else can I do? Right? I can be operational, depending on what my lifestyle looks like. And so you need to kind of think about, what do you want your lifestyle to look like, and not be so hard on yourself and doubt yourself or second guess yourself, or question your identity. And that is the hardest part, because I think that I went through many stages, and identity is a big one. So I guess you'll just have to wait a couple months for me to release that other video where I really get into identity for myself. But just know that you are worth so much, and you bring valuable experience and valuable skill sets. And if you decide to become an entrepreneur, or you decide to keep in the corporate space and look for another job, even if it takes a little bit of time, just know that you are valuable. And being laid off is not a reflection of your identity. And so it's one to work through. And I think that's where the therapy might come through. I didn't have any, but I think I had to go through a lot of work, a lot of deep diving inside to figure me out. Anyhow, I hope these tips were helpful. I hope that you have not lost your job, and I hope that you can apply some of these things. And yes, delete those apps. But wishing all the best for you. I just want to share a little bit of me with a little bit of you, and hopefully this was helpful. Let me know your comments, your feedback in the comments. And I'll see you on the next video. Take care.